In the frosty month of February in the year 1959, a team of 9 skilled hikers embarked on a journey through the untamed and rugged terrain of the northern Ural Mountains in Russia. These brave souls were no stranger to the harsh and unforgiving Siberian wilderness, but little did they know that this particular expedition would be their final foray into the unknown. This is the case of Dyatlov Pass. Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student at the Ural Polytechnical Institute, as well as the leader, assembled a group of 9 others for the trip, most of whom were fellow students and peers at the university. The initial group consisted of 8 men and 2 women, but one member later turned back due to health issues. On 23rd January 1959, the Dyatlov group was issued their route book, which listed their course as following the number 5 trail. At the time, the Silverado City Committee of the Physical Culture and Sport listed approval for 11 people. The 11th person listed was Semyon Zolotaryov, who was shifted to go on. The Dyatlov group left Silverado City on the same day. They received the route book. On January 25, 1959, the group embarked on their ill-fated journey, arriving by train at Ivdel, a town situated at the heart of the northern province of Sverdlovsk Oblast. From there, they took a truck to Vizhai, a remote lorry village in Russia that marked the last inhabited settlement to the north. As they rested for the night in Vizhai, the skiers wisely stocked up on loaves of bread to fuel their energy levels for the arduous hike that laid ahead. On the next day, that was the 20th, one member, Yuri Yudin, who had several health ailments including rheumatism and a congenital heart defect, turned back due to knee and joint pain. The remaining 9 hikers decided to continue the trek. On January the 31st, the hikers reached the edge of the highland area and began to prepare for their climb. In a wooded valley, they carefully stashed away extra food and equipment that they planned to use on their return journey. The following day, the group set out to cross the pass with the intention of camping on the other side of the night. However, due to worsening weather condition, including snowstorms and decreased visibility, they decided to set up a camp on the slope of the mountain. These are some of the photos recovered from the cameras, and the last sentence of the final entry reads, "It is difficult to imagine such a comfort on the ridge, with shrill howling wind and hundreds of kilometers away from human settlements." A few days later, the friends and family began to worry. On February the 26th, the search party was able to locate the camp on the slope. When the search party finally found the bodies of the missing hikers in the Ural Mountains, the scene was so horrifying and so confounding that it would inspire conspiracy theories for decades to come. The group's diaries and cameras discovered near their last campsite allowed investigators to retrace their steps up until the day before the tragic incident occurred. Frozen corpses, strange injuries, and missing body parts, curious levels of radiation. Each discovery was more perplexing than the last. Who or what killed 9 young and extremely experienced hikers on the slopes of that mountain in western Siberia in 1959. A legal inquest started immediately after the first 5 bodies were found. A medical examination found no injuries that might have led to their deaths, and it was concluded that they had all died of hypothermia. Slobodin had a small crack in his skull, but it was not thought to be a fatal wound. An examination of the 4 bodies found in May shifted the narrative of the incident. 3 of the hikers had fatal injuries. Brinolis had major skull damage, and Debinina Zolotaryov had major chest fracture. According to Boris Vozdeny, notably, the bodies had no external wounds associated with the bone fractures, as if they had been subjected to a high level of pressure. All 4 bodies found at the bottom of the creek in a running stream of water had soft tissue damage to the head and face. For example, Jibinina was missing her tongue, eyes, part of the lips, facial tissues, as well as fragment of skull bone, while Zolotaryov had his eyeballs missing. Alexander Kolvatov was missing his eyebrows. V.A. Vozdeny, the forensic expert performing the post-mortem examination, judged that these injuries happened post-mortem due to the location of the bodies in the stream. For years, the tragedy has been analyzed and debated by scientists and journalists. Whether it was a murder, a Soviet military test, or even a Yeti, no one could agree what had happened to them. There was initial speculation that the indigenous Mansi people, reindeer herders local to the area, had attacked and murdered the group for encroaching upon their lands, but the investigation indicated that the nature of the deaths did not support this hypothesis. Only the hikers' footprints were visible, and they showed no sign of hand-to-hand struggle. Although the temperature was very low, around -25 to 30 degrees Celsius, with the storm blowing, the dead was only partially dressed. Some had only one shoe, while others wore only one sock. Some were found wrapped in snips of ripped clothes that seemed to have been cut from those who were already dead. At the time, the official conclusion was that the group members had died because of compelling natural force. The inquest officially ceased in May 1959 as a result of the absence of a guilty party. The files were sent to a secret archive, but after 63 years, 2 researchers may have solved the mystery with technology borrowed from the animators of the Disney movie Frozen. But there's just only one problem. Not everyone believed their hypothesis. The hikers died in the area now called the Dyatlov Pass. When the search party reached the site of camping, it was there that they realized something had gone terribly wrong. They found a tent which appeared to have been slashed open from the inside and hastily abandoned. The tent was half torn down and covered with snow. One of the rescuers, Mikhail Sharavin, later recalled it was empty and all the group's belongings and shoes had been left behind. Several sets of footprints were found in the deep snow, but they seemed to vanish just meters from the tent. What could possibly drive 9 experienced winter campers to abandon their shelter in socks or bare feet, with night falling and no sign of the hikers? It didn't take long for the search party to confirm the hikers had met a tragic end on the slope. At the edge of a forest about 1.5 kilometers from the tent were the bodies of 2 of the hikers, 23-year-old Yuri Krivonishenko and 21-year-old Yuri Doroshenko. The young men were dressed only in their underwear and had died of hypothermia. Both also appeared to have burns on their hands. The bodies of 3 more hikers, group leader Igor Dyatlov, Zinada Kolmorgrava, were found scattered in the snow between the forest and the tent. The bodies of the 4 remaining hikers were not revealed for months, but later were discovered when melting snow revealed their location. The youngest member of the group, 20-year-old Lyudmila Dubinina, as well as the oldest, 38-year-old Semyon Zolotaryov, had broken ribs and severe chest trauma. Alexander Kolvatov's neck was twisted and his eyebrows were missing. A doctor who examined the bodies said the force of whatever hit them was equal to the effect of a car. Several months later, after they found the remaining bodies, the Soviet Union declared that the hikers were killed by an unsurmountable force of nature. The investigation was closed and declared top secret, but that didn't stop the tragedy becoming one of the nation's most enduring and hotly debated mysteries. While the avalanche theory initially seemed plausible to many experts, the investigation into the mysterious deaths of the hikers raised more questions than answered. A thorough study of the area suggested that the spot where they had set up their tent was unlikely to be prone to avalanches. Furthermore, there were no signs of snow patterns around the abandoned tent that would indicate an avalanche had occurred. Russian investigative journalist Svetlana Oz, in her book titled "Don't Go There," put forth her belief that local hunters, possibly under the influence of psychedelic mushrooms, had murdered the hikers. Another theory put forward by a Russian news station suggested that discord within the group had led to a hiker turning against the others in a fit of rage. Armed with computer simulations and newly unsealed documents following the fall of the USSR, 2 Swiss scientists joined forces in 2019 with the aim of finally unraveling the mystery of the Dyatlov Pass incident. Johann Gom, an expert in snow studies, and Alexander Puzarin, a professor of geotechnical engineering, were inclined to believe that an avalanche was still the most likely explanation despite the flaws in the theory. One aspect they investigated was the slope angle where the hikers had set up their tent. The 2 scientists emphasized that they did not address or explain other contentious elements surrounding the investigation, such as the hikers' behavior after leaving the tent or the location and conditions of their bodies. They said our work demonstrates the possibility of a relatively rare type of snow slab instability that could potentially explain the Dyatlov Pass incident. Earlier this year, the researchers made another significant discovery. In January, they documented evidence of 2 recent slab avalanches occurring on the same slope where the hikers had tragically lost their lives. Due to strong winds, these slabs became practically invisible within hours. In 1959, when the search party found the tent, it took them 3 weeks, providing ample time for the fierce winds to erase any traces of the incident. Countless theories have emerged to explain the Dyatlov Pass incident, each more mind-boggling than the last. Was it an avalanche, a military cover-up, or something far more sinister? And how overnight something caused them to cut their way out of their tent and flee the campsite. So what caused the death of the 9 people? Who or what is responsible? And will the truth ever come to light? Thank you guys for watching the video. Sayonara.